Nang sannivaso sadasukho adassanena balanang nityameva sukhisya. The Abbot of International Buddhist Meditation Center, Venerable Santi, and Venerable monks, their friends in Dhamma. And as Bhante reminded, I want to wish everybody Happy Mother's Day, and in a week, Happy Buddha's Day, because on 18th, I think, we'll be celebrating Buddha's birthday worldwide. That's 2563rd celebration, so quite a long time. And I thought to relate my talk and also maybe discussion to these two very important characters in our life, Mother and the Buddha. The Gatha I mentioned in Pali, it's from the Dhammapada, and that means it's a very beautiful sayings by the Buddha. So, Saudasana Mariyanang Sannivaso Sadasukho. If you have opportunity to see a worthy people like monks, people who follow Dhamma, it's a blessing. And if you can live with them, that's a lot higher blessing than just seeing them. And this the opposite side is adassanena balanam nityameva sukhisya. And if you can avoid people unwise, bala is the term in Pali to refer people who are unwise or not fool, but who are unwise in Dhamma. So if you can avoid unwise people, that would be another blessing in our life. So these two ideas, I started with those two ideas because Mother's Day signifies very differently in different culture. I need to put this a little away. It's better now. So in Eastern tradition, mothers are respected so much, and in Buddha's teaching we view them as another symbol of Buddha. So Buddha identified those parents as, they are a symbol of the Buddha. So if you don't have actual Buddha living, you can respect your parents with the same utmost respect to your parents. And there's a reason he does that. I know I worked with people in jail for some time, and when I talk to those guys, sometimes I question myself, are every parents just like the Buddha, or there's some variation? Some parents are not like Buddha, some parents are very ignorant toward their children, or they don't take the role of motherhood or fatherhood. But most of the time when you think, they do have those qualities. And I'll just keep it brief. Buddha identified parents as Buddhas because they have these four qualities: metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha, which we use as a tool of practicing meditation. So metta, parents have this undying loving kindness toward their children. No matter how old you grow, they continue showing that love, that care to you, and that's why Buddha taught you have the quality of Buddha. And karuna is compassion. In Pali, you define compassion, paradukke sati sadhunang hadayam kampatiti karuna. If your heart feels somebody's pain and you take action to alleviate that person's pain, that is called karuna. And in psychology, we have two terms: empathy and compassion. Now, empathy is a little different than compassion. I like to identify empathy as you feel someone's pain. For instance, you drive on the freeway, or you maybe not on the freeway, maybe you drive on the street. You see a person suffering because no food, climate, hot weather. You see somebody's standing on the street, and you feel sad, right? We do that. And you pass by. Well, that's empathy. You felt someone's pain, but you did not do anything to reduce that person's pain. You just felt it and you passed by. In Buddhist term, we call karuna. When you see somebody suffering, you don't just pass by. You do something in your possession to reduce that person's pain. It could be anything. It could be you give $1, you try to find a help, you try to, later on take some action to promote those kind of awareness. So you do something in order to reduce the person's suffering. That's what we call karuna. And parents have that. For the case example, I twisted my ankle when I told my mom. She lives like 8,000 miles away from me. She's in Nepal. As soon as I call her, she called me multiple times, giving me instruction on what to do and what not to do. So she was saying, you need to get some fenugreek, grind it, mix with it white egg, and apply and put some paper. I'm sure Bante knows. That's a Nepalese way to, cure twisted or torn parts of your body. And it worked. So mother is always right? So she managed to give me that tips. And she felt so far away. And I'm sure you guys have those memories. So that's why Buddha identified mother has this compassion. They never go old. They never fade. They try to keep it in their level. The third one is sympathetic joy. In Pali we call mudita. And mudita, you share your joy, your happiness with other people. Now you're a little uncertain how they're going to react, because not everybody enjoys your achievement. There are people, they don't like it, jealousy, it's so natural. I wouldn't call it like human nature, it's so habitual to us, because naturally mind should be happy when somebody is successful, but we are habitually used to be jealous because you didn't get that success. If you put that in parents' point of view, they prefer to see you succeed, and they prefer to see you achieve higher goals, go to better schools, and you succeed better than them. And again, I'll use my example. I finished my master's degree. I'm training to become a therapist. I was a monk for 17 years. I gave lots of talk. I traveled in many states. My mother has no clue of what I do. She does not know anything except she knew that I was a monk, and now she knows I'm not a monk. That's all she knows. I was trying to teach her what I studied. So now she barely knows that I studied psychology, and she can say that word. And she's so happy despite she doesn't know what psychology means. So the joy that she expresses, and when you listen to her, you see that they don't have any filter. They don't try to, how come you got better than me and I'm not getting those success. That's why Buddha saw parents have this sympathetic joy. They can rejoice your success. They celebrate your success, no matter how old you get. And the fourth one is upekha, equanimity. They try to maintain equal love for all kids, despite sometimes there's a difference, they have a preference, sometimes they don't have preference. So I joke my mother, because I'm the middle child. I have two brothers, one older and one younger. And in my culture, if you are youngest child, you are favorite to mother. If you're oldest child, you're favorite to your father. When you're in the middle, you're nowhere. So that's my situation. I have two brothers, I'm in the middle. And I tease her sometime, you were calling my brother Nilesh and you didn't call me before you called him. And she always tried to explain, that's not the case. I love you the same way. And sometimes the joke goes too far. She starts crying. That's not true. I love you all equally. So my point is, they try to maintain that equanimity, not only through love, and also when you see success and failure. If a mother has multiple kids, and I meant both parents, when they have multiple kids, they try to maintain their love and care in a certain level that you continue prospering. So if you are not successful, I don't think they will reduce their love. And if you're very successful, you might feel like you're favored, but they will still maintain their love for you in the same way. So that's where Buddha found, parents have these qualities. Parents have these 4 qualities: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And those are also called Brahma Vihara, 4 sublime qualities. That is similar to the great Brahma that is in Hindu concept, and also similar to the Buddha. So that's why he put parents in those state and ask us, remember where you started your journey. Don't forget where you came from. Show that gratitude, show that love. And my plan for today was one idea I wanted to share, why we love and care our parents, especially on Mother's Day. And maybe this reminder help us to think, okay, so I know how I can relate to them. The other part that Buddha used was sometime when you practice loving kindness, I'm sure you can relate with this idea. It's difficult to love everybody, right? That's the original teaching. What the practice is, you should love everyone in the same way. Right? That's where we start. Ahang avero homi avyapajyo homi. May I be free from suffering, and you extend that loving kindness to immediate family members, friends, and you extend beyond them. You extend to other co-workers, and you continue expanding. In Pali we call appamanya. It doesn't have a limit. It's a limitless consciousness and thought. That's metta and karuna. You expand that above and beyond your loved ones. But when you try to do that, it's not easy. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult. You start, may everybody be well, happy and peaceful. May everybody be free from suffering, except that one particular guy. Don't you do that? You try to include everybody, but you thought of one person who's so difficult, and you kind of exclude. And that's where Buddha used the mother. In Karanyametta Sutta, it's a famous chanting in Theravada practice, Mata yatha niyam puttam, ayusa eka puttam anurakkeya. So when you try to express your loving kindness, at least when you begin, so we start from mental repetition. When you do that, think of as a mother who has a single child. Imagine how much love and care that mother has toward that only child, and try to have similar thoughts toward everyone. That's one way. So Buddha used mother to show deepest level of love and care. And the other situation, he also advised, if you have hard time practicing loving kindness because of someone who's very difficult, constantly challenging in your life, so Buddha explained, think of these people in the past life. Imagine this person was your mother in your past life. This person was your father in your past life. Would you be hating, would you be wishing all these ill will, having these ill will thoughts toward this person? And the idea is, take a perspective. And when somebody is very difficult, take a perspective, so you might be able to let go of those strong grudges, and perhaps you move on, and which is very helpful. No matter how much you cultivate hatred inside you, that person is not going to suffer. The person who's suffering is yourself, because sometimes we talk to people, and when we disagree with things, and when we have argument, let's say we disagree on one thing and we separated for years, and for all those years you might have cultivated so much negative thoughts about that person, and you don't know what happened to that person. He might have already passed away, he might have become a monk and now he's a great saint, or he might have become another extremely difficult person. You have no clue. Why? Because your thought does not affect that person's life. And why would we bother cultivating so much hatred toward that person? So the best way is taking those perspectives. Okay, he was my relative, he was my friend, he was my brother, it was my mother or father in past life, I don't need to hold on to these grudges. So Buddha used these mother examples in many situations to tell how to train our mind and reduce those conflict with our mind. And these ideas matter if you are in touch with this kind of community. If you don't have these Dhamma practice, Dhamma desana, there's a consequences. I'm going to tell that. I'll try to keep it simple and I'll conclude there and we can discuss some questions. And since I'm coming here, I think bi-monthly, every other month, so I want to start certain topics so I can keep consistent. So I'll open one. So Buddha explained, when we think of causality, the teaching of Paticcasamuppada, the first one is avijja, ignorance. That's where we start. And because of ignorance, we accumulate disposition or sankhara, we accumulate karma. And because of karma, we continue in cycle of samsara. Now most people have misunderstood, even Buddhist scholars have misunderstood. They thought avijja, ignorance, is the first cause. And in one of the suttas in Anguttara Nikaya, that is numerical teachings of the Buddha, in collection of 10, so they have like collection of 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. There's one chapter called collection of 10. He has one sutta called Avijja Sutta, the teaching of ignorance. And he explains ignorance is not free from condition. There is another condition on this ignorance. And as I said, I'm going to open this topic, we will discuss in detail later. So Buddha explained there is avijja panahang saharam vadami no anaharam. So there is, the ignorance is not free from condition. There is a condition for ignorance. And Buddha explains what fuels this ignorance. He goes back, it is fueled by 5 hindrances. So when you practice meditation, when you try to do good, 5 hindrances constantly occlude our mind. It clouds our mind. We're sitting, you're trying to meditate, you start thinking of something you like, you love, so that's a desire, kama chanda. Or sometimes you start thinking about something you hate, somebody did harmful things to you, that's a vyapada. Or you start feeling lazy, you cannot meditate, you feel like it's too hot, too cold, too early, too late, so you start thinking about not to do. That's called tina midda. That's the laziness, sloth and torpor of mind. And the fourth one is uddhacca kukucca. Your mind is too busy, it's so agitated, you cannot keep quiet and meditate. And that has to do with level of effort. If your effort is too high, your mind is agitated. And your mind is too low in effort, now you're sleepy. So Buddha used metaphor, if you are playing a guitar, you don't want the string to be too tight or too loose. Because if it is too tight, you have tendency to break it without making the sound. If it is too loose, it's not going to make pleasant sound. And you have to put in a very moderate tightness, which is your effort. You want some level of effort, not too much, not too little. That helps to take care of laziness and agitation. And the fifth one is doubt. And you doubt about Dhamma, you doubt about your practice, you question, is this going to help? Is this going to change anything? So that's another hindrance. So the condition for ignorance are these 5 hindrances. And what fuels these 5 hindrances? Buddha explains 3 kinds of misconduct. Your mind, body and speech is not in a proper training. You did not observe precept, you did not try to keep them up. And it goes back, so what fuels these 3 misconducts? And goes back, your lack of sense restraint. You don't have proper control of your senses. And why you have what fuels this lack of sense restraint? It goes back, asati asampajanya. I'm trying to relate to what we practice. And Buddha explains, lack of sense restraint has to do with lack of mindfulness, lack of situational awareness. See where we connect this. Now we try to practice meditation and sometimes we know it's not working. You cannot just keep trying the same thing. And that's why I'm trying to put this together in this line. You need to have multiple factors. So if your meditation is not working, now you know it goes a step further. And when your meditation is not working, it could contribute to lack of sense restraint. Why you have lack of mindfulness, lack of situational awareness, it goes a step back and says, oh, it has to do with your poor or improper attention. Yoniso manasikara. You're lacking proper attention. You're not aware about situation. You're not aware about wisely decisions. And why you have this lack of proper attention, there's another step back. You are lacking faith. And when I say faith in Pali, it's called asaddha. You're lacking confidence toward Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So when you don't have confidence toward these three gems, teaching, teacher and the followers, right? That's what Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha means. The Buddha is the teacher, Dhamma is the teaching, Sangha is the people who follow. So you don't trust, you don't have strong faith or confidence. I like confidence better in these three objects or three ideas. And why don't you have, or why you lack this confidence in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha? There's a step back, because you are you don't listen to Dhamma. So why you don't listen to Dhamma? There's another step back, because you have bad friends. You have associated people, those who are not righteous. I'll stop there. So now we can go forward, right? From there you can go onward. When you have bad friends, you don't listen to Dhamma. When you don't listen to Dhamma, it contributes to lack of confidence. When you don't have confidence, what happens? You don't have proper attention. When you don't have proper attention, you lack mindfulness and situational awareness. When you don't have mindfulness, your senses are not controlled. When your senses are not controlled, you behave in a wrong way. You get into misconducts. When you behave in the wrong way, you accumulate more hindrances. When you accumulate hindrances, you're ignorant. So ignorant is not coming from blue, it's not out of blue. There's so many factors. It leads to this practice. It leads to having people like Bante's, people like fellow other folks here who are like-minded, who believe in these practices. And when we don't have that, we don't have any values that you appreciate. So even I'm from Nepal, Bante is from Sri Lanka. We come together in this country and we share these ideas because we as humans share so many other conditions. And Buddha said, if you are human, you're bound to grow old, you're bound to get sick, you're bound to die, and you're bound to reborn. So we share those conditions. That's enough for us to think, okay, we can use this idea. And why should we use? Now you see the chain. When you don't have good friends, it leads all the way to ignorance, and ignorance, avijja paccaya sankhara. It leads to more karma, sankhara paccaya vijnana. It continues to more life and more cycle. So there's a connection between everything we do, everything we try to teach, practice, and I hope we will be able to talk a little more detail in these ideas and connect, why meditation is not working. I'll tell you one last story and I'll stop. I was teaching meditation class in Riverside Temple, and I had a student. She went to a retreat with me for 10 days. And she came back, she continued her practice. So long story short, at one point she came to me, she said, I don't know why I can't practice regularly. There's something missing. She did full 10 days retreat, 100 hours of meditation, and she continued. But she was missing something. And I was young, I was very fresh in these ideas too, but I thought to give her what I do. And I proposed to her, maybe before you start meditation, do a small ritual. You don't need to cling, but do a small ritual of lighting a candle and bow in front of Buddha and think Buddha is the refuge. If I am misguided, not in a sense that he's going to save you, Buddha is not going to come and save anybody. Sorry guys. So in a sense that if I'm misguided, if I'm lost in my journey, I can go back to him and see what he did. So I gave her this idea, you might need to start something like that in your own way. And she did. She came back with some good news. She said, I'm better with my practice because I think I connected now. And when I found this sutta, it makes sense. Well, meditation, mindfulness is not going to work if you go a few steps. I'm not going to repeat, don't worry guys. So if you go a few steps back, you will see you need to have good friends, you need to have Dhamma listening. It leads to strong confidence in teachings. So I hope that help us to continue enhancing our practice, and may you all continue your practice and deepen your knowledge in Dhamma. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your lecture, and nice to see you again.
Likewise.
A lot of information you put in this lecture, and I appreciate it. Concerning the topic that you start on the lecture about the Buddha, the similarity, the Buddha with the mother, it came to my mind to ask you, talking some doctors about the placebo word. And when you mentioned about your mom told you, okay son, do this, on that, and you said it worked. So scientifically, mothers and Buddha are using the cycle of us that meanwhile we are positive mind, we cure ourselves. So my question is that concerning this comment is through Buddhism, the cycle is involved through following all this path as a matter that if we put in our mind that we will do positive things, we want to accomplish positive, good things. And also I want to ask you concerning all the 4 stages plus the gringes, the love and kindness,
4 qualities, yes.
4 qualities. Now my question is how we can deal with a system on which we live, because there's a president of a country, the world's divided into so many countries, each country handles their own manner, their own way, the idea how they want to follow the country. So how people start getting involved with good friends, good people, if the government, the system is corrupted, it's an unskilled, how we can, it came to my mind, okay, join each other, and the good ones, but how we can work in such a way that more people get in the good way, in the good path.
That's a big question. I think it's a very loaded question, because if you want to change the system, I have no clue where to start, because there's so many layers and they constantly change. It's hard to tell who's right, who's wrong. So to keep it simple, I always think of this Buddhist story, and this guy I tell he's like Confucius, the Chinese philosopher, who wanted to change the world. I'll keep it short because I have tendency to tell my stories long. So he wanted to change the world. He was young, 40s. He started his journey, tried to change the world, didn't work. In his 50s, he realized the world is too big. Let me narrow down to China. And he worked for another 10 years. China is big, the biggest country. So he thought that's not going to work. 10 years later, in 60s, he realized maybe I start with my province. And I'm going to work on my province. And he worked there. Their provinces are like a big countries. So they're so big, he realized in his 70s, this is not going to work either. I'm going to stick to my family members first. I'm going to change my family. In his 80s, he realized, I'm so darn wrong, I should have started by myself. So he couldn't change anybody. So it comes back to us, right? when we try to do big change, it starts from us. And there's a related sayings in Dhamma again, Panim hiche vanonna sa kareya panina visa. If your palm is free from wound, there's no cut in your palm, you can handle poison without any damage. So the metaphor is, if your mind is uncorrupted, if your mind is free from this corruption, no ill will, no negative gaining purpose, you can handle situation without being contaminated. And to me, that's very powerful. That's what Buddha did. And if you think of 500 years back, when Buddha started his journey, he was a single man, 35 years old, super young, nobody to follow. He started with 5 people, and these 5 people didn't trust him. If you look at the text, it seems like he got people right and left. No, these 5 monks, the first monks, they didn't trust him. They thought, you're just another random hermit, why should we trust you? And he tried to give talk, they didn't understand. So it was a struggle overnight. Even we think like, yeah, he had thousands of followers. But my point is, when you start that journey, it's a rough beginning, but it starts in us, And biggest good we can do is doing those small good with big, compassion, kindness. So I cannot think of how we can change the system, but there's another formula that I don't know if it was Sri Lanka or Nepal. We were trying to clean the country, and people said the same problem, like, how could we clean this big country? It's so big, this and that. And I heard maybe somebody proposed, why don't you clean your front yard? Everybody does that, and the country is clean. You don't need to go and clean everybody's yard. You just clean your yard, and everybody else does that. So the idea is, if we can be the model, we can be the example. Let's say I'm married, and my wife, I like her example. When she was young, she had friends. Of course, she's from here. They drink, and one of many stories she told me that she doesn't need to drink to enjoy party. She can dance, she can do all her fun stuff without being drunk. And she was one person who drives the car at the end. Now that one person, she's the single person, saved multiple lives because she was following Buddhist practice. She had her teacher, and she learned about 5 precepts, and she tried to keep that. And that helped to save 5 lives. I don't know what would happen if she was also another young guy, drunk, and could have gotten killed or some other casualties. But because of one person, 5 lives saved. So to me, if we think in that perspective, can you remind me your name, sir? Isaac. So if you and I, we start that journey, setting examples, showing that, you do you, let me do myself. I will set this example to myself. If nobody's following, I'll be free from those ill wills, all those hatred. That can inspire lots of people, because I still believe there's goodness in this world. When I listen to His Holiness Dalai Lama, he talks about we are blessed as like a millennials, because in 1900 times I was studying for my citizenship exam. So I saw there were like so many wars that America had to fight. First World War, Second World War, Cold War, Korean War, Vietnam War, Spanish War. So many fights. Now we at least free from those time zone. So we are blessed. We can at least set some of those examples that people can see us and inspire them. At least if we inspire another person, to me that's a success.
Concerning what you said, even I remember, like I asked to another monk, we talk, we act, and sometimes we don't follow our thought, and another thought come out to our mind and say, do the opposite. I've been hearing that said that we have a foreign mind, an alien mind. What you can say about having 2 minds in our body? What Buddhism could say about have 2 minds? That one say go to the left, go to the right, and Leon, hey, I don't know where to go. You can say about that?
Mind is complicated. I don't think we have two minds. Then, from Buddhist point of view, in Abhidhamma, Buddha talks about 89 types of thoughts, consciousness. It's the same mind. It can produce 89 types of different consciousness. And in those 89 types of consciousness, there can be 52 types of thoughts. So it goes on. It's a very complicated analysis. My point is, it starts with one single consciousness. It's a stream. It doesn't go in many ways. What you meant by, when you said, that like somebody says this and that, intuition, it could be unconscious mind, Sigmund Freud talks about those ideas. That has to do with, we have two types of defilements. One defilements that's little easily we can be aware of. For example, somebody cut me through my path on the freeway or on the street. I immediately feel anger. Now I am aware about that anger, right? So that's so easy to recognize. That's klesa. There's another layer we call latent klesa. Now we all have that latent klesa which is dormant, which is like so sleeping condition. For example, if you go to meditation for 10 days, you will feel so much peace. You almost feel like you will never get angry now. But again, let's say you come on freeway, you try to get to your home on time because your wife is waiting after 10 days, you're expected to be there, and you're running late, somebody cut you off. Despite 10 days of meditation practice, you just lost yourself. And you would be questioning, how come I tried 100 hours of meditation, I lost it in a second? Well, it's not your fault. There's a dormant klesa which comes and it gives that energy to react. So that's hard one. That's why when we meditate, we try to deepen, we try to continue. And it's like, when I say dormant, it's like another layer of dirt. So surface layer of dirt, you can clean. Another layer of dirt is the result of your surface layer of dirt. If you keep cleaning the upper layer of dirt, the dormant part will eventually go away. So that is what I think, we feel like we have alien mind. But in Buddhist ideas, we don't even have single mind. It's the stream. It's the flow of the consciousness that keeps arising and passing away.
Okay, if anybody have one more question, can do one. Okay, not I think somebody else.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your talk. Just a quick question. How do you, I understand the idea of having good friends and not having bad friends. How do you select people into your life without judging them? How do you keep people out of your life without judging them too? Like, it just feels like I don't want to become the person that says, oh, well, if you're a Buddhist, then you can be my friend. If you're not Buddhist, then you can't be my friend. Or if you meditate every day, then you can be my friend. But if you don't meditate every day, then you can't be my friend because you're not really a good person. And then, in a way, like, I want to make sure that in my effort to have good people in my life, that I don't become this, horrible, judgmental person that says, you're good, you're bad, you're good, you're bad, you deserve to be in my life, you don't deserve to be in my life. And that doesn't seem the way to go, but I'm not sure which would be the right way to go about making sure I have only good people in my life.
I would keep those qualities as a criterion to have good friends. If you don't meditate, if you're not responsible to your child, if you're not taking care of your family, and if you're not doing the job that's like consistent with your word, I don't want to be your friend, because in reality, those people who don't have those qualities going to lead to some kind of detrimental outcomes, right? Let's say somebody doesn't keep up with job, keep up with their family members, doesn't have any spiritual ambition. I don't want to be a friend. And when you say judging, I think as Buddhist, I know the term non-judgmental comes from this idea of like meditation. I disagree because I judge. And when I say I judge, I don't judge like, you're bad, good. What I judge is like, what is good for me? Now, how do we use ethics without judging? Can you choose what kind of meditation is good for you without judging? You chose certain practice with your some judicious idea, right? You know what's correct, what's wrong. We do have that strong principle, and Buddha clearly taught us in this Mangala Sutta, and it's the auspicious teaching, but I like to call it requirements. So if you want to be enlightened, he listed 30 plus requirements. And the very first one is asevana cha balana panditana cha sevana. Can you keep out people, those who are unrighteous? And how do you judge unrighteous? If the person is trying to take away your wealth, it's just taking away your wealth, and just trying to take away and not reciprocate. That's one person, and always praising you in good and bad. Well, that's dangerous. If the friends always praise you, you're so good, keep doing, no matter what you do. Well, that's dangerous. The Buddha said, identify that. If he's just like Vachi Parama, with like a, flowery speaker. And the third one is Abhaya Sahaya. The person leads you to hell, which means bad practices, killing, hurting, lying, not trustworthy. So if that person has those qualities, Buddha identified them as fake friends. So these three, I have already listed three. One, who takes your belonging, who always praises you despite what you do. Third, always trying to take you toward hell, bad behaviors. And Anuppiya Bhani, who approves everything you do. Now, I don't want a friend who approves everything I do, because sometimes I'm wrong. And I want my friend to tell me, you need to stop that. If I'm drinking too much, my friend must have, balls to tell me, stop doing that. Otherwise, I don't think he's a good friend. And sad part about here in American culture is, if you do, it's like now you're stepping on my rights. Who are you? I'm drinking my own money. Who are you? But from Buddhist point of view, you should be good enough to stop you. So if you can think of these four, and this is actually the teaching for lay people, for like us, householders. So Buddha identified these four people. If you see they are not actual friends, they're disguised friends. And if you can keep away from them, I think you're not judging, you're actually protecting yourself. And you need some level of selfishness, and otherwise it's hard to continue this journey. And when I say selfishness, it's from Pali term. It's not English term. I don't know how strong you feel when I say selfish. In Pali we call Atmarti or Attahita, or in Sanskrit Atmartha. Atma means self, Artha means doing benefit for yourself. And we have to. Buddha chose that path. When you see the story, he gave up all families because he need to find this path. And we need that judgment. We need to identify, okay, if you have these qualities, and you can do many ways, I'm sure you know, sir, right? You don't need to tell them up front. You know, okay, if you always say, I'm right, I need to be concerned, because I'm not always right. And if you always take my things, then I don't want to be a friend of you. There's a nice way to step out and find the opposite people, who tells that if you're wrong, who guides you toward a better place. So we can make that another topic, because that's a very interesting idea, the friendship in Buddhism. But I hope that helps a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.